The bass shook the walls, lights from the rented DJ setup flashing across the crowded living room. Everyone's attention was fixed on Tyler Cole, spinning and laughing in the center, showing off moves he'd clearly rehearsed for weeks. "Go, Tyler! Go, Tyler!" Brittany Miles, my cousin, chanted, clapping like she was his biggest fan. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I stood in the kitchen, wrist deep in soap suds, scrubbing plates that had been left behind by the very people cheering for him. The smell of barbecue grease and sticky soda clung to my skin, my hands raw from the scalding water. Deborah, my mother, leaned in the doorway, her arms crossed, a smirk on her lips. "Keep going, Madison. You've got at least 2 more trays in the sink," the laughter from the living room carried in, sharp as glass. Brittany's voice rose again, mocking. "Hey, Madison, maybe after the dishes you can come sweep the dance floor." Tyler might slip on all his talent. The crowd howled with laughter. My brother basked in the spotlight, nodding and spinning like the golden child he'd always been. My cheeks burned. I kept my head down, staring at the dirty water, swallowing the lump in my throat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw down the sponge and ask why I was always the servant while Tyler got the applause. But I knew what would happen if I spoke up. Deborah's icy glare, the mocking stares, the dismissal. So I said nothing. My lips pressed into a thin line. The clatter of silverware in the sink was swallowed by the next track booming from the speakers. Tyler raised his hands like a star, bowing as the crowd chanted louder. "Madison," Deborah's voice cut like a whip. "Don't just stand there daydreaming. Those glasses aren't going to scrub themselves," I muttered. "Yes, Mom," my voice barely audible over the music. Then, the sound that changed everything, the front door opening. The hinges groaned, followed by the solid thud of heavy footsteps. The energy in the room shifted instantly. The clapping faltered. Conversations trailed off. Even the music seemed smaller. Henry Cole, our grandfather, stepped into the living room. 81 years old, but commanding more presence than anyone else alive. His posture straight despite the cane tapping rhythmically against the wood floor. His sharp gray eyes swept the room. He took in the sight. Tyler surrounded by fans. Deborah with her smug expression and me in the kitchen, my hands dripping with soapy water. His jaw tightened. "What's happening here?" His voice wasn't loud, but it carried through every corner like steel grinding against stone. No one spoke. Brittany shifted uncomfortably, her drink trembling in her hand. Tyler forced a laugh. "Grandpa, we were just having fun. Madison wanted to help with the cleanup, that's all." "That's all?" Henry's gaze cut through him, then landed on Deborah. "Your daughter is in there scrubbing plates while your son plays king?" Deborah's smile faltered. "Dad, it's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like." His tone was final. He stepped closer, each tap of his cane making the silence grow heavier. Then his eyes softened when they met mine. "Madison," he said firmly, "dry your hands." My throat tightened. Slowly, I grabbed a towel and wiped my trembling fingers, the room watching every small movement. Tyler's jaw twitched. Deborah's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. Henry reached into the pocket of his blazer. For a second, no one breathed. Then the glint of metal appeared in his hand, a set of heavy keys, polished and unmistakably important. He walked right up to me, ignoring the stares, and pressed the keys into my palm. His hand closed firmly around mine. "This house," Henry said, his voice ringing with authority, "belongs to Madison. Starting tonight, every single one of you answers to her." The silence that followed was deafening. The music still played faintly in the background, but no one moved, no one spoke. Tyler's face went pale, his mouth opening then shutting like he couldn't find words. Brittany gasped, her drink nearly spilling. Deborah's face drained of color, her lips parting in disbelief. The cool weight of the keys sank into my skin. For the first time in my life, the power was mine. I raised my eyes, meeting every shocked stare in the room. My chest no longer felt hollow. The shame was gone, and I knew everything had just changed. The keys felt heavier in my hand than any dish I'd scrubbed that night. For a moment, no one moved. The partygoers, once roaring with laughter, now stood frozen like mannequins. The bass thumped faintly in the background, but the life had been sucked out of the room. Tyler was the first to break. He stepped forward, his sneakers squeaking against the floor. "This has to be some kind of joke." His voice cracked with disbelief. "Grandpa, you can't just hand her the house. I'm the one who deserves it. I've been—" "Enough?" Henry's tone slammed through the air. "Deserve? You prance around the living room like a show pony while your sister works in the shadows. And you call that deserving?" Tyler's face reddened. His fists clenched, though his voice wavered. "You don't understand, Grandpa. Everyone loves me. People come here for me. She just hides in corners. She doesn't know how to take care of anything." The words hit me like stones. My instinct was to shrink back, to let the moment pass. But then I felt the weight of the keys again, cool and solid in my palm. My chest rose and fell. For once, I didn't look down. "Maybe I don't put on a show," I said quietly, my voice trembling at first but steadying with each word. "Maybe I don't need to." The room shifted. Eyes snapped to me. My stomach twisted, but I held my ground. Deborah moved fast, her heels clicking as she crossed the floor. Her smile was brittle, too wide. Her voice coated with honey that didn't reach her eyes. "Dad, please, you're making a scene in front of everyone. Let's just talk privately. Madison doesn't want the burden of a house. She wouldn't even know where to start." Henry's cane struck the floor with a sharp crack. "You think I don't see what's happening under my own roof? You've let this family forget what respect means. Madison has more strength in her silence than the rest of you have in your noise." Brittany scoffed, trying to inject some of her usual arrogance into the tense air. "Seriously? Madison couldn't even host this party without breaking down. She's not built for it." I cut her off, surprising even myself. "Tyler's built for applause, not responsibility." The words came out sharp, like they'd been waiting years to escape. Tyler's eyes widened. For once, he had no quick comeback. Gasps rippled through the room. I could feel the blood rushing in my ears, but I didn't lower my gaze. Deborah's voice turned icy. "Madison, you need to stop. This attitude won't be tolerated." Henry snapped his head toward her. "Attitude? You humiliate your daughter in front of guests, reduce her to a servant, and now you want to silence her when she finally speaks?" Deborah flinched, her painted smile gone. The partygoers shifted uncomfortably, their earlier laughter replaced with guilt-ridden stares. A few looked away, embarrassed to have cheered for Tyler while I scrubbed dishes. Tyler's jaw clenched. He stepped closer, his voice rising, desperate. "This isn't fair. I'm the one everyone respects. I'm the one who should carry the Cole name forward, not her. Respect?" Henry's voice was low now, dangerous. "Respect isn't handed out like applause at a party. Respect is earned, and you've done nothing but prove you don't deserve it." The silence that followed was suffocating. Tyler's eyes darted toward me, venom flashing. "You think you're better than me now, Madison? Because Grandpa gave you some keys?" I felt the anger bubbling in my chest, but I kept my voice calm. "No, I think I'm tired of being treated like I'm less than you. Tonight just proved I don't have to accept it anymore." The room went still. Even the music seemed to die in the background, the DJ frozen behind his setup. Deborah's face twisted, her desperation leaking through. "Dad, you can't just decide this in front of everyone. Think of the family's reputation." Henry raised his chin, his words sharp and final. "The family's reputation will be restored when we stop pretending arrogance is success and cruelty is strength. Madison is the future of this house. Not Tyler, not you." Brittany's mouth dropped open. Tyler looked like the ground had been ripped from beneath him. Deborah staggered back a step, her hand pressed to her chest, the keys pressed deeper into my palm. My heart hammered, but for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of their stares. I looked straight at Tyler, my voice steady. "You had your spotlight. It's over." The collective gasp was almost louder than the music had ever been. Tyler's face twisted, but he didn't speak. Henry placed a firm hand on my shoulder. "Madison, this is your house now. Tomorrow we start making changes." And just like that, the party that was meant to celebrate Tyler turned into the night. Everyone realized the power had shifted. The room wasn't laughing anymore. It was holding its breath. The party ended in a blur of whispers and stiff goodbyes. Guests shuffled out quickly, avoiding eye contact, murmuring as if they'd witnessed something too raw to process. By the time the last door shut, the house felt different, quieter, heavier, charged with a tension that crackled in the air. Tyler slumped onto the couch, his face still flushed. "This is insane," he muttered, shaking his head. "Grandpa's lost it." "You really think you can handle this, Madison?" Deborah stood near the window, her nails tapping against the glass. She didn't look at me, only at her reflection, her jaw tight. "Tyler's right. This isn't sustainable. Dad is emotional. He'll realize his mistake." Henry lowered himself into a chair, resting his cane across his knees. His voice was calm, but it carried steel. "I don't make mistakes, and you two should think carefully before questioning me again." Deborah's smile was brittle. "Dad, I'm just saying this is a lot of responsibility for a girl who's never even—" "Don't finish that sentence," Henry warned. His eyes pinned her in place until she looked away. I stood by the kitchen island, the key still in my hand, my heart pounding. Every second felt unreal. I wanted to believe I had power now, but Tyler's glare cut through me like knives. His eyes promised this wasn't over. When Henry finally excused himself for the night, retreating upstairs, the silence he left behind was suffocating. Deborah turned to me slowly, her voice low, controlled. "Enjoy this moment, Madison, because it won't last. You don't belong in charge. You never will." Tyler leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his smirk cold. "You think one speech from Grandpa changes everything? Tomorrow people will laugh about this. You'll crumble. You always do." My throat tightened, but I refused to look away. I clutched the keys so hard they dug into my palm. "Maybe I've crumbled before," I said, my voice steady, "but not anymore." I walked past them without waiting for their response, heading to my room. For the first time, I locked my door, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to feel what it was like to hold a boundary. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows, too bright for a house that felt divided. I came downstairs early, the keys clipped to my jeans, my head buzzing with nerves. Deborah was already at the table with her coffee, scrolling on her phone. She didn't look up when she spoke. "I've booked a meeting with a realtor. We're going to fix this mess before your grandfather gets carried away." My stomach clenched. "You can't sell the house. It's not yours anymore." She finally looked at me, her smile sharp. "Sweetheart, you really think a piece of paper makes you stronger than me? I've run this home for years. You don't even know what bills are due." Before I could answer, Henry entered, cane tapping, his expression hard. "Deborah, cancel that meeting, today." Her face froze, the color draining. "Dad, don't argue with me. The deed has already been transferred. This house is Madison's. You will respect it, or you can leave." Tyler came bounding down the stairs, his voice rising. "This is ridiculous. You can't just hand everything to her. She doesn't deserve it." Henry's gaze was unwavering. "Deserve? Madison has carried the weight of this family quietly for years while you basked in praise. If you don't like my decision, Tyler, there's the door." Tyler's face twisted, but he didn't move. He looked at me instead, his glare burning. "Don't get comfortable. You won't last a week." My chest tightened, but I forced myself to meet his eyes. "We'll see." The day dragged, tension lurking in every corner. Brittany texted me, her message dripping with sarcasm. "So, queen of the house now. Hope you know how to scrub more than dishes." I almost deleted it without replying, but instead I typed back, "Funny. I don't remember you being invited back." Hitting send felt like stepping into a new version of myself. By evening, Deborah and Tyler had huddled in the den, whispering in low tones. I passed by once, catching fragments. Lawyer, challenge, Grandpa's mind isn't stable. My stomach dropped. but I kept walking. Later, as I sat on the porch, Henry joined me, lowering himself into the rocking chair beside mine. He didn't speak at first, just rocked slowly, watching the sun dip behind the trees. Finally, he said, "They'll fight you. They'll try everything to tear you down. But Madison," he turned to me, his eyes sharp even in the fading light, "don't forget why I chose you. You know pain. And people who know pain also know strength." I swallowed hard, my throat tight. What if they're right? What if I can't handle this? His voice softened, but his words cut deep. Then prove them wrong. Not with shouting. Not with arrogance. With actions. This house will show who you really are. The keys clinked lightly against my leg. For the first time, I didn't just feel their weight, I felt their promise. Inside, I heard Tyler's laughter, mocking, plotting. But outside, with Henry's hand firm on mine, I realized something. This wasn't just about a house. It was about finally standing up, after a lifetime of being told to stay small. And I wasn't backing down. The tension finally snapped 3 nights later. I walked into the living room to find Tyler pacing like a caged animal, his voice raised. "This is insane, Mom. We can't just let her sit there with the keys like she owns the place." Deborah's tone was sharp, controlled. "I've already spoken with an attorney. If we prove your grandfather was pressured, the deed transfer won't hold. Madison doesn't have the capacity to run this household." Her words sliced through me, but before I could speak, Henry appeared in the doorway. He leaned on his cane, his presence instantly silencing them. "Is that what you think, Deborah? That I've lost my mind?" Deborah's face drained. "Dad, I didn't mean—" "You meant every word," Henry said coldly. "And it disgusts me." Tyler crossed his arms, glaring at me like I was the problem. "This isn't fair. She didn't earn it." My pulse hammered, but I held my ground. "You want to talk about earning, Tyler? I've done every chore in this house while you danced for applause. I've been invisible while you played the favorite. I didn't ask for this. Grandpa gave it to me because he saw what you refused to." Tyler sneered. "And what's that?" "That strength doesn't come from being loud," I shot back. "It comes from surviving being ignored." The room went still. Even Deborah faltered, her mouth parting, but no sound coming out. Henry stepped forward, his cane striking the floor with authority. "Madison is the heir to this house. That decision is final. If either of you cannot live with that truth, you are free to leave under your own power." Tyler's face twisted. For a second, I thought he might explode. Instead, he turned on his heel and stormed upstairs, slamming his door so hard the walls rattled. Deborah stayed frozen, her hands trembling around her phone. For once, she had no clever remark, no cutting words. Henry looked at me, his expression softening. "Don't let their bitterness poison you. Hold steady. This house needs a new kind of leader." I nodded, my throat tight. "I won't let you down." That night, as I walked through the halls, the house didn't feel suffocating anymore. It felt alive, like it had been waiting for me to claim it. Every framed photo, every creak in the floorboards, it all belonged to me now. The next morning, I made my first decision. I gathered everyone still under that roof, Henry, Deborah, Tyler, and stood in the living room where the humiliation had started. My palms were sweaty, but my voice didn't shake. This house will no longer be a stage for favoritism or cruelty. Things are going to change. Chores, bills, responsibilities, they'll be shared fairly. If you don't like that, you know where the door is. Deborah's lips pressed tight, but she didn't argue. Tyler stared at me, rage simmering, but even he didn't speak. For the first time, I wasn't the one lowering my eyes. I was the one setting the rules. The house keys still rest in my pocket every day. Not as a prize, but as a reminder. A reminder that silence isn't weakness, that endurance builds a different kind of strength, and that no one can erase your worth if you refuse to let them. That night at the party, they thought they had broken me. Instead, it was the night everything changed, and the silence that followed my grandfather's words, it still echoes.